Tim Priester with Tim O'Malley and John Bryce following Notre Dame's first spring practice and a Marcus Freeman press conference. We were laughing during the early portion of the practice when we were trying to evaluate quarterbacks, and we know that everybody's going to be very eager to hear about who's throwing the football well, and our conclusion is they have 4 starting quarterbacks. No, they don't, but all 4 really threw the football very well, and Marcus Freeman certainly broke down the top 2, Riley Leonard and Steve Angeli, and then Kenny Minchey, and of course C.J. Carr. But they did throw the ball well, and part of the reason they threw the ball well is because they have a receiving core that is improved over last year.
Well, I noticed my takeaway from the press conference was Marcus Freeman said we caught more long passes today than I can recall the last year put together. So it might not have been that much, but we were sitting there, the 3 of us, and you look at Chris Mitchell made the catch of the day because he mossed Jaden Mickey, who had a very good day. But if you didn't know that Chris Mitchell was Chris Mitchell and Jaden Harrison was Jaden Harrison, you said Notre Dame got a new receiver recruit that's explosive, you think Jaden Harrison could have been Chris Mitchell. He, as Tim said, he ran 100% every rep, and he can really scoot.
He looked really, really good. We had noted him in a recent podcast, maybe last week's podcast, guys, when we visited, and I talked that he had been a guy impressing over the course of winter, that he had already flashed in some of Notre Dame's football school settings and had already shown that they believe he will be an instant impact player in special teams. Today we saw him start to show that he could be an impact player in the offense as well. Caught the ball really well. He did some stuff laterally that I really liked, caught the ball in the flat and then able to turn it upfield in a hurry. And as you noted, quarterbacks, I thought what stood out to me the most today was how overall accurate they all very much were. You know, the knock on Riley Leonard a little bit coming in was, well, he's this great athlete with a big arm. How accurate is he? I specifically watched him today and thought his accuracy was really top notch.
I really like Jaden Harrison, and he impressed me or struck me the same way that Rico Flores did last year. They're different types of players.
Aggressive routes.
Yeah, but just the way they came off the line of scrimmage and the way they ran everything, Jaden Harrison was very impressive. I also thought that Jaden Thomas looked to be in tremendous condition. The weight says 218 as opposed to 222 last year, but of course, you know, physical conditioning, that can be a greater change than just actually 4 pounds. I also thought Jaden Greathouse, all the Jadens, I guess. Jaden Greathouse looked pretty sudden as well. Defensively, well, let me stay with the offensive line because I kept talking about Spindler being out this spring. He didn't have an ACL last year, so he was back in action. But Billy Schrouth and Pat Coogan are the starting guards. We were wondering about Baker and Jagasa, who would be right and left. Baker's on the right side, Jagas is on the left. That makes a little bit more sense. And of course Ashton Craig at center. You know, there's open competition there. We can go through the second line as well, but I have a feeling that's going to be the starting offensive line eventually.
Yeah, I'm curious to see it at right tackle. It's just one day, but O'Malley and I both noted that there were a couple of times today that Jordan Botelho flat did some work on Tosh Baker. There's no other way to say it. Now look, nobody was in pads. Defense usually is a little ahead of the offense, but Tosh Baker has bided his time. I think he has a lot of people really hoping he'll take command of the job and seize it. But I think there will be some battles there. I think the interior is far more set than that right flank right now.
C.J. Carr would be legally dead if they were allowed to hit today. That's what happened on the Tosh Baker.
In the backups there, Wagner on the right side and Sullivan Absher on the left side.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by Sullivan Absher. Really intrigued.
Yeah. Let's talk defense a little bit. Defensive line, we saw R.J. Oben, saw him run around a little bit. Of course, it's so great to see Mills and Cross lining up on the interior and Botelho out there on the right side. You know, I'm really interested to see R.J. Oben in live competition because I think he's, you know, I just like the way he moves around the football field, kind of light on his feet. He's a bigger guy, but he looked like he was having a good time out there running around wearing the Notre Dame uniform.
Yeah, he did. He looked very active, and Riley Mills is a guy who played his best ball of his entire career along the back half of last season. We've known for a long time he's been one of the athletic freaks in college football. He had a little bit of a trimmed-down body today, but still looked incredibly powerful and explosive. That stood out to me. And then as we transition to the linebacking core, I'm interested to see your guys or hear your guys' takes. But I immediately saw Jack Kaiser just sort of comfortable and in command, and kept seeing Jaden Osbury show up. And we'll see more when the pads come on, but Jalen Sneed really flashed some nice bursts and hit it up in the hole today on a blitz. That was just impressive to see.
And this is going to sound like first and second string, but it's not it, because they moved in a lot with the first and second string defensive line. They paired Jalen Snead a lot with Jack Kaiser. Jalen Snead was mostly at will. He also played rover when they went to 4-3, and they even had him at Mike with Jack Kaiser at will. I think they want to move Jalen Snead around and make sure Jack Kaiser is with him. It helps a lot. As Marcus Freeman said, this is Jalen's third spring. This is an important time for him to take a step forward. He looks trim. He does look like a safety out there. When everybody's, I think he can be a really good pass rusher. He's 6'1", 218.
218, yeah.
Like but as you said, he moves laterally fantastically. He can attack. It's going to be interesting to see how these guys work out, because Jaden Osbury, if you didn't know any of the players, probably had the most impactful day at linebacker, jumping up, knocking down passes. He had a will linebacker blitz where he definitely would have gotten in on Riley Leonard. He had a good day as well. We saw him at will mostly, some Mike. Drake Bowen was mostly at Mike as when I was jotting down notes.
Yeah, but Bowen banged up his knee a little bit, or twisted his knee, but he seemed to be okay. One position change with the two early entry freshmen at running back. Devin Ford has been moved to safety, and Marcus Freeman emphasized that he is going to, obviously, he is a core special teams guy, and that is his number one responsibility. We saw him in 2023. He was really, really good on special teams, on coverage. So
he's been moved to special teams demon, and and there's more room for him at safety.
If there's a special teams captain, it will be Devin Ford. And Jordan Faison was out there, not in uniform. They're trying to gauge how much they can use him in practice. He's got a game this weekend, and so they're not going to put him through any of the physical work that's going on in football on days like this. But good to see him out there with. He was back there with the punt returners. I'm sure he's the leading candidate to be the punt returner.
I was going to say, Jordan Faison, I think, is all of our favorites and favorite story, but you might want to get some work in, because Jaden Harrison's playing slot right now, and Jaden Greathouse and Jaden Thomas too. He's going to have to get some work in this spring.
Yeah, I continue to be really excited for Harrison and special teams. So that's what I want to see, because Marty Biaggi had maybe the only unit in all of football last year that scored a special teams touchdown every way possible: block kick, block punt, punt return, kickoff return. Now you're adding even more arsenal to that, and it's exciting to see.
And if you had amnesia and didn't remember that Benjamin Morrison is an absolutely tremendous cornerback, you were reminded today, because a deep ball that looked like a good throw, I think Riley Leonard threw that.
Nice ball.
That looked like a good ball, and it was going to be caught, and Benjamin Morrison jumped up, stuck one hand up, snagged it, and brought it to the ground. And I think you could hear a collective throughout the indoor facility today, because it was Benjamin Morrison at his best.
It was a left sideline leaping right-handed one-handed interception with his back to the ball, sprinting downfield on a go route. So if you could picture that at home, it was one of the best plays I've seen at a practice in Notre Dame.
I thought there were two plays before that where I thought, okay, these plays might be the play of the day in practice, and one was an Angeli throw to Jaden Thomas. One might have been a Riley Leonard throw to Jaden Thomas that were just beautiful throws. And then, as you said it, I actually already wrote it in the practice report on Irish Illustrated. That was the one play by Ben Morrison that made coaches, players, all the media, and one or two scouts in attendance just stop and go, oh. Like, it was nice. It was elite. I would imagine Notre Dame will clip that up and put it out on social.
Christian Gray and Jaden Mickey battling for one of the cornerback spots opposite Benjamin Morrison. It will be a good battle. I predict Christian Gray will emerge. You've got to have a role for Jaden Mickey. He had a significant role last year. How many snaps? 250?
Yeah, he needs more than that, though, I think.
Yeah. We didn't. Jordan Clark has a bit of a quad injury, so we didn't get to see him working at nickel, which is a little bit disappointing, because I was told that all the film that I watched of him, his last season at Arizona State, he was banged up. He played like he was banged up, and he was banged up today, so we still need to see him. I thought the two running backs, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, looked really, really good, and you can see what they can do with Jeremiah Love in the passing game. The running backs were taking part in some of the early passing drills with wide receivers, and Jeremiah Love looks very natural doing that.
Yeah, as I tried to think of some adjectives to use in addition to what we wrote in the practice report, I'm standing here thinking they just struck me as sleek and streamlined. Those guys really got after it, got upfield. They were explosive. They had nice bursts, but those two just looked really, really good. Clearly, Jadarian Price is in even greater shape than he was coming back from that ACL tear. Jeremiah Love, a strong freshman campaign, now building on it with his knowledge. And Lauren Landau's specialty is supposed to be enhancing explosiveness, and I thought there were signs already of that today.
Yeah.
You referenced Jaden Thomas. I thought Deion Colsey by far looked like he's in the best shape of his entire career at Notre Dame. So I completely agree with those statements, Tim.
Clemson transfer wide receiver Bo Collins was on hand, not practicing and recovering from an injury still.
But he cannot practice
But
yet.
he cannot
He's
practice
enrolled
yet.
at Clemson.
Rod Hurd was not.
We didn't see Rod Hurd, but he is in town.
Yeah, he apparently is in town. What else do we want to hit,
Injuries?
guys?
There's 5 guys out for the spring. Marcus Freeman announced today. 3 of them are not a surprise. ACLs from last year. Aiden Gobira, that happened in the practice we watched in August. Kevin Bauman, that was in August. And Mitchell Evans, of course, was October 28th against Pittsburgh. They're out for the spring, but not news there. There is news. Armel Mukum out with labrum surgery from 2 months ago. Logan Thomas out with labrum surgery for 2.5 months ago, a high school injury. It affects Mukum a little bit. That's I think he probably needed the spring because if Gabriel Rubio's not back, and we can discuss that further. If he's not back, there was a little bit of room. And Donovan Heinisch is the odds-on favorite to get there. Mukum's going to have some ground to make up.
Gabe Rubio was brought up, and Marcus Freeman wouldn't elaborate on why he's not here now, but he did say that he expects him back, which is good news because they are lacking some size on the inside there. Jason Anye, his second time through here, should be a better version of himself. He did have a pass batted down at one point. Preston Zinner, I wanted to mention that. He also had a nice pass broken up.
Two-handed leaping pass breakup.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
he did.
We could go on, but all this is going to be covered in our practice reports and again tomorrow. Not the usual Thursday podcast, but Irish Illustrated Insider tomorrow on Friday. Until then, Tim Priester, Tim O'Malley, and John Bryce, and we are Irish Illustrated.